In this video, we have the patch 5.10 rundown. Well, it looks like a lot of the PvE changes that happened a couple weeks ago survived long enough to make it to the live version of the game. What's going on, guys? It's your host Sergeant Frost, and today we are running down the patch 5.10 notes. There are quite a few agent changes in this patch, so we'll have a lot to get into. But before we get into the notes, let's talk about something you should all know about that will help you improve your game, such as Valorant Stats Center, AimLab's newest top-tier tracker that gives you access to data and metrics that only pro players had in the past. Not only that, Stats Center even has revolutionary data that tracks your impact called Delta Damage. So if you want to have all the information you'll ever need to master the game, make sure to click the link in the description and download Valorant Stats Center by AimLab today. Now let's get into the patch rundown. After what seems like the longest wait in the game's history, the devs have finally gotten around to buffing Cypher. They even gave a hefty explanation on their thoughts on Cypher and what they wanted these buffs to do for him. To summarize their excerpt on him, they believe that Cypher was once a formidable Sentinel agent, but slowly over time he fell off the meta roster and fell into mediocrity. Part of this is caused by Chamber's rise to dominance and Killjoy's preference as a side anchor for certain maps. And in general, they believe that the abilities in his kit were relatively weak for what his job was supposed to be, which was info gathering and site denial. They talk about how they think his trip setups were too predictable, which allowed them to be negated easily. They also talk about his ultimate being too one-dimensional and not useful enough for what the ability should and could provide to Cypher and his team. So finally, they decided to give him several buffs and quality of life changes. So let's start off with his tripwires. The maximum tripwire length has been increased from 1000 to 1500. The devs hope that by increasing tripwire's length, this makes the ability less one-dimensional and allows Cypher players to get more creative with his trip placements, so that way these things don't get destroyed too easily and quickly. Neural Theft now reveals enemies 2 times, and there is a 4-second delay between the reveals. The time restriction to cast on enemy corpses has also been removed, and the maximum cast distance has been increased from 1200 to 1800. Neural Theft was already a pretty good info gathering ability despite its apparent flaws. But now that this ability reveals enemies twice, it will be a lot harder for enemies to fake it by turning around to deceive the other team. Also, the time restriction being removed and the distance being increased gives Cypher a lot more breathing room to get his ultimate off safely, without putting pressure on him to use it quickly to make a play. To wrap up Cypher, the devs made a few quality of life changes to make him more well-rounded. They've updated the yellow silhouette used for Cypher's reveal on Spycam and Neural Theft. The yellow silhouette now disappears if the revealed enemy becomes visible to you to help reduce confusion of seeing 2 representations of the enemy in different places. The yellow silhouette now starts dimmer and fades faster to make it more distinguishable from an actual enemy. And Cypher's place utility is no longer destroyed by allies' AoE damage. Fade has been queen of the meta pretty much since she's been released. She was able to easily slide into most team comps in the meta and have immediate impact on games, thus raising her value for teams in all elos. The devs want to tone her power down a little bit this patch, so they're hitting her Prowlers and ultimate in the process. Prowler's duration has been decreased from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. The delay on bite after reaching a target has been increased from 0.4 to 0.6 seconds. There are general new hitbox improvements. The near sight duration on hit has been reduced from 3.5 seconds to 2.75 seconds. And Prowlers now fizzle out and no longer debuff instead of debuffing its target if they teleported away before it finished its animation. The devs believe that Fade's Prowlers have been too versatile and too difficult to play against, and they're looking to tighten things up with these changes. The duration change should encourage Fade players to be more deliberate in the areas that they choose to sweep, while the other tweaks to the ability are meant to help enemies with counterplay. Nightfall's cost has been increased from 7 ultimate points up to 8. Not too big of a change to our ultimate. The devs just believe that it's a very powerful ultimate and they want to make sure players really earn this ability considering how much it offers. Finally, some Harbor buffs are coming through to live. The devs stated that they believe Harbor's abilities make a healthy round impact for the team, but they were concerned when they saw that not enough players were liberally using his abilities due to feeling constrained with his playstyle, thus leading to frugal use of all of the abilities in his kit. With that being said, Cascade is getting its number of purchasable charges upped from 1 to 2. The devs did this in hopes that players can achieve more flexibility when controlling the map. On to gameplay system updates. The devs are implementing real-time text evaluation. In addition to existing interventions, they are launching a new feature to begin muting players in chat who send disruptive text messages in-game. Interventions for disruptive text will now be applied sooner rather than later as they continue updating systems to evaluate more types of text communication. The devs have stated that these improvements will be added to North America first and expanded to more regions in the near future. In social updates, the devs have fixed an issue that caused auto-reject friend requests on the notification to be misaligned with social panel for some languages. This patch, we only have agent bug fixes this time around. The devs have fixed a bug where Astra could cast a fake Nebula right at the start of a round before her star charged up. The devs have fixed a bug where Chamber would fail to equip a gun at the start of a new round. The devs have fixed Harbor's Cascade being visible on minimap for enemies with vision of it. They have fixed a bug where Harbor's Cascade would sometimes spawn under the map. They have addressed a bug where Harbor's Cascade targeter on the minimap would shorten when aiming up or down even though Cascade would travel the same distance. And finally, the devs have fixed a bug where Harbor's Cascade targeter on the minimap was slightly shorter than the actual distance it would travel. Finally, for bug changes, the devs have fixed a bug where Neon Slide could be used to boost upwards in specific map locations. And that is all for the patch 5.10 rundown. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing to our channel. Also, don't forget to check out our website to gain some access to some truly amazing coaching. This has been your host, Sergeant Frost, and I'll see you all in the next one.